The sun hadn't yet broken through the overcast morning sky as Officer Ryan Cole walked through the gleaming corridors of Falcon Bay International Airport. The terminal was quiet, humming with early travelers and the occasional wheelie bags skimming across the floor. At his side was Kira, a lean, focused German shepherd with a black saddle coat and alert amber eyes. Her nose twitched, always working, trained to detect explosives, narcotics, weapons, even hidden anxiety. It was their third sweep of the morning. Routine. Predictable. Just the way Ryan liked it. Gate 12 loomed ahead, Flight 873 to Geneva. A transatlantic departure with a full manifest of diplomats, business travelers, and international executives. Ryan had checked it twice already. As they passed a row of tired passengers sipping overpriced coffee, Kira suddenly stopped. Dead still. No command. No prompt. She planted her paws, body low, eyes locked forward. Her hackles lifted, and a low growl rolled from her throat. Ryan tensed immediately. "What is it, girl?" She didn't respond. Instead, she took a slow, deliberate step forward, head turned toward the gate's boarding bridge, just as a man in uniform stepped into view. Captain Walter Briggs, tall, clean-cut, mid-50s, was adjusting his blazer and glancing at his watch as he made his way toward the aircraft. His black leather pilot's bag swung by his side. And that's when Kira moved. She lunged, not to bite, but to block. She stepped directly in front of him, teeth flashing, body rigid, growl deepening into something primal. Briggs halted, startled. "Whoa, easy there," he chuckled nervously, stepping back. "She always like this?" Ryan pulled back slightly on the leash. "No. Never." Passengers nearby glanced over curiously. A flight attendant poked her head around the corner, confused. Briggs shifted uneasily. "I'm the captain of that flight. Can we move this along?" Kira wouldn't budge. Her stare was locked on him, no barking, just intensity. "Focus." A silent alarm Ryan couldn't explain. Ryan tried again, tapping her side. "Kira." "Release." "Nothing." "Kira," he repeated, voice firmer now. She stayed. Grounded. As if her body was the only thing stopping something from going terribly wrong. From behind them, Security Chief David Lynn strode up, holding a tablet. "What's going on here?" "Dogs holding up the flight," Briggs said, trying to inject humor into his voice. "Your team thinks I'm suspicious." "She's reacting to something," Ryan said, eyes still on Kira. "And she's never wrong." Lynn frowned. "You're telling me your dog thinks this man's a threat?" "I'm telling you she's never acted like this. Not in 5 years." Lynn rubbed his forehead, glancing between Kira, Ryan, and Briggs. "Maybe she's tired. Overstimulated. These dogs hit sensory overload like anyone else. Get her out of the way, Ryan." Ryan hesitated. Lynn's voice sharpened. "That's an order." Ryan nodded reluctantly. He gently tugged the leash again. "Kira, heel." Still, nothing. She wasn't disobeying. She was warned. Briggs took a step forward again, attempting to brush past. Kira snapped her jaws, not to bite, but to make it clear, "You're not passing me." Okay, Briggs said, holding his hands up. "Look, I don't have time for this. I've got a plane to fly." Ryan looked at Lynn. "Something's wrong." Lynn looked around nervously as passengers started whispering, their eyes now glued to the tension building near the gate. "I'm calling for a secondary sweep," Ryan said, voice low but steady. "For what?" Lynn asked, annoyed. "For whatever Kira's reacting to. I don't care what it is. She says something's off. That's good enough for me." Briggs sighed and looked around. "This is ridiculous. I've been cleared, I've flown this route for a decade." "She's not questioning your resume," Ryan replied quietly. "She's reacting to something you're carrying, or something nearby." Another growl rippled from Kira's chest. Passengers began backing away slightly. Lynn finally gave in. All right. Ground the plane. Sweep the area again. Briggs threw up his hands. Unbelievable. Kira never looked away. As technicians arrived to pull the aircraft offline, Ryan knelt beside her. You've got something, don't you? He whispered. Her tail twitched once. She was locked in. Focused. Determined. Ryan knew the look. She wasn't being difficult. She had found something dangerous, even if no one else could see it yet. As the crowd watched from behind the security barriers and murmurs turned into whispers, the only certainty left in that terminal was this. Kira would not let that man board the plane. And whatever her instincts were screaming at her, Ryan had just one thought. What the hell are we about to find? Ryan tightened the leash, pulling Kira just enough to get her back on her feet, but not enough to drag her away. She resisted, muscles tense, eyes still locked on Captain Briggs. Kira, heel, he commanded softly, but firmly. Reluctantly, she moved a few steps back, only to immediately surge forward again, planting herself in front of the boarding ramp. It took all of Ryan's strength to guide her back and keep her in place. Briggs exhaled loudly, trying to play it cool. Can I board now, or do I need to bring her a steak dinner to win her over? Ryan didn't laugh. You can go. For now. Briggs gave him a strange look, then turned and walked up the ramp toward the plane, grumbling something under his breath. Kira let out a deep, guttural growl. Ryan watched every move Briggs made until he disappeared into the aircraft. Passengers and flight crew followed behind him, all casting glances toward Kira as they boarded. Most looked uneasy. A few seemed more curious than concerned. But none of them knew what Ryan did. Kira never reacted without reason. Still gripping her leash, he guided her toward the baggage area near the plane's underbelly. She pulled toward it, nose twitching furiously, sniffing the air like it carried secrets. When they reached the landing gear, Kira paused, then walked in a slow, deliberate circle. Her eyes tracked something invisible. She sniffed again, then sat directly beneath the fuselage. She didn't move. Ryan's heartbeat quickened. All right, he muttered. Let's find out what the hell this is. He keyed his radio. Dispatch, this is Officer Cole. I'm requesting an immediate secondary check on Flight 873. Full undercarriage inspection. Also requesting Homeland Security assistance. There was a pause. Cole, repeat. You want Homeland involved for what, your dog sitting down? Confirmed, he replied. Requesting Agent Sarah Voss. Tell her Kira's made a priority alert. Another long pause. Then, copy that. She's en route. Across the tarmac, Security Chief Lynn jogged toward him, clearly irritated. Ryan, what are you doing? You can't just freeze ground operations without my say. Kira's still signaling, Ryan replied. She won't leave this spot. That's never happened before. She already flagged the pilot and you delayed boarding. Are you really trying to ground an international flight based on her sitting under the wing? Ryan pointed. She's not just sitting. She's targeting. That's her alert posture. Lynn crossed his arms. You scanned Briggs' items. They were clean. I scanned his items, Ryan said, eyes locked on the aircraft. Not the plane. Lynn sighed. You realize Geneva's getting flooded with phone calls asking why their arrival slot is suddenly frozen? And they'll thank us if she's right. Lynn muttered something under his breath and stepped away to call dispatch. Ryan knelt beside Kira. What is it, girl? He whispered. She responded with a low, nearly inaudible whine. Then lifted her head and stared straight up, toward a specific section of the undercarriage. It was enough. By the time Agent Sarah Voss arrived 20 minutes later, the perimeter was already secured, and ground crew had been pulled back. Bright yellow caution tape flapped in the wind, marking off the entire tarmac sector. Voss, dressed in black tactical gear with a DHS badge clipped to her collar, stepped up beside Ryan. Kira again, she asked, a flicker of familiarity in her voice. Ryan nodded. Same reaction she had last year in Chicago. It's not behavioral, it's instinct. Voss glanced at Kira, who hadn't moved from her post. Where? Ryan pointed. She's focused on the fuselage, just above the left landing gear. Voss turned toward her team. Get the scanning unit. I want every inch of that hull mapped in under 5 minutes. Technicians wheeled out the compact 3D sonar scanner, a high-resolution device capable of penetrating the outer shell of most commercial aircraft. They positioned it carefully beneath the plane, initiated the sweep, and waited. A minute later, the technician froze. Agent Voss, he called. You're going to want to see this. She approached the monitor. Ryan stepped up behind her and saw it at the same time. There it was, an anomaly. A dense, rectangular object embedded between 2 access panels, just above the fuel line. Not registered on any maintenance report. Not part of the plane's design. Too precise. Too hidden. Too dangerous. Voss's expression darkened. Shut down the airport. Now. Lynn's jaw dropped. What? You heard me, Voss snapped. This aircraft is grounded. Secure all other gates. Get the bomb squad moving, this could be an active device. Lynn turned pale. Within moments, alarms sounded through the terminal. Flights were suspended. Planes halted on runways. The control tower launched emergency protocols as passengers were rerouted to safe zones. Ryan held Kira close as personnel scrambled around them. Kira stayed still, eyes focused, body calm now that someone had finally listened. Good girl, Ryan whispered. You did it again. Voss tapped her earpiece. I want the cargo manifest cross-checked. I want full pilot crew background reviews. Someone wanted this to fly. The only reason it didn't is because of her. She looked at Kira with something like awe. Ryan didn't smile. He knew better. This was far from over. The pilot. The object. The timing. The placement. It all felt too perfect. Too intentional. Voss pulled Ryan aside. You scanned Briggs' bag, right? She asked. Yeah, he replied. Recheck his credentials. Right now. Why? Voss glanced back at the plane. Because we've got a pattern emerging. And if it's what I think it is. Captain Briggs may not be who he says he is. Ryan's stomach dropped. His eyes drifted back toward the boarding tunnel, where just an hour ago, Kira had refused to let Briggs walk past. A silent warning. A line in the sand. And no one had understood what she was really trying to stop. Until now. The whirring of the X-Scan V5 mobile scanner echoed against the tarmac as it glided under the belly of the aircraft. A pair of technicians guided it slowly along the side of the fuselage, their eyes fixed on the attached tablet screen that displayed the scan feed in real time. Agent Sarah Voss stood to the side with her arms crossed, jaw clenched tight. Officer Ryan Cole kept a calming hand on Kira's harness. She still hadn't left her post beneath the left wing, her ears alert, eyes tracking every movement with silent precision. The tension was thick. Seconds later, a red blotch pulsed on the screen. Stop it there, one of the technicians said. He pointed to the abnormal density that had just lit up on the scanner like a warning flare. That's not supposed to be there, the other muttered. Confirmed anomaly, the lead technician said, lifting his radio. Located directly adjacent to the main fuel line, port side. Agent Voss didn't wait. Secure the perimeter. I wanted the bomb squad in here 5 minutes ago. An explosive ordnance disposal (EOD) team was already suiting up just outside the security cordon. Now they moved fast, their black and gray gear clinking with controlled urgency. A remote ground robot rolled forward first, sleek and low to the ground, equipped with an extendable camera arm and a probe. The entire tarmac was now shut down. Every plane grounded. Every passenger terminal was sealed. Ryan knelt beside Kira. You did good, girl. Again. She finally relaxed just a bit, lowering her body to a down position, but her eyes remained fixed on the aircraft. She wasn't celebrating. Not yet. Inside the mobile command unit, Voss stood beside Lynn and Ryan, eyes locked on the high-definition video feed streaming in from the robot's camera. The robotic arm extended toward the panel. A gentle tap. Nothing. Then it shifted slightly, and revealed a false panel, barely visible unless you knew exactly where to look. Behind it, a matte black box, ducked to the inner frame. Small enough to hide. Sophisticated enough to terrify. The lead bomb tech's voice came over comms. We're looking at a sealed container with triple-locked fasteners. Looks custom-built. Possibly pressure-triggered. Voss stepped forward. Disarm? Not here. Too risky. The altitude-based mechanism suggests it's designed to trigger once the plane hits cruising altitude. Maybe 30,000 feet. Ryan's stomach sank. This plane was set to go down mid-flight, Voss said, her voice cold and certain. Everyone on board, gone. A thick silence settled over the room. Lynn looked visibly pale. So you're telling me that if that dog hadn't... Correct, Voss cut in. If Kira hadn't refused to let the pilot pass, this would have been airborne. And detonated. Ryan gave Kira a sideways glance. She wasn't looking for praise. She was just doing what she was trained to do, protect lives. Voss turned to the technician. Get that thing out, safe and slow. I want it analyzed. Full forensics. The technician nodded. We'll need about 90 minutes. Outside the command unit, flashing red and blue lights marked the arrival of federal backup. The plane was now surrounded, the field illuminated like a crime scene. Then came the captain. Walter Briggs was escorted across the tarmac in cuffs, 2 armed TSA officers flanking him. He looked confused, maybe stunned, maybe furious. His uniform was slightly wrinkled now, hat removed, gray streaks in his hair more visible than earlier. Ryan stepped outside to meet them. What's this about? Briggs demanded, his voice cracking. I've been flying for 28 years. You think I put something on my own aircraft? Voss walked over, folding her arms. Your keycard accessed restricted hangar 2 last night. 3:17 a.m. What? Briggs blinked. No, I was home. I went over my route schedule, then I was asleep by 11. No camera footage to confirm, Voss said. Your car was logged at the gate, but no record of your exit. Briggs opened his mouth, closed it again. Ryan took a step closer. Then who had your card? Briggs frowned, rubbing the bridge of his nose with cuffed hands. I don't know. I keep it in my uniform bag when I'm off duty. It never leaves my sight. Well, someone used it, Voss said flatly. And that someone had the clearance to enter a restricted hangar and install an explosive under your assigned aircraft. Wait, explosive? Briggs looked genuinely alarmed now. You're telling me there's a bomb under my jet? There was, Ryan corrected. Briggs staggered slightly. I swear to you, I had nothing to do with this. We're going to find out, Voss said. Until then, you're being held under suspicion of terrorism conspiracy. Briggs shook his head violently. This is a setup. Someone's framing me. Someone with my credentials. Ryan turned back toward the plane. The implications were settling in like fog. If Briggs was telling the truth, and someone did clone or steal his credentials, then this wasn't an inside job, it was something bigger. Smarter. More organized. Voss motioned to the officers. Take him to the store. We'll continue this at the field office. Briggs didn't resist. He simply looked over his shoulder at the aircraft. Please, tell me the passengers never boarded. They didn't, Ryan said quietly. Because a dog stopped you. Briggs nodded slowly. Then I owe that dog everything. As Briggs was led away, Voss turned back toward Ryan. This doesn't feel like a one-off. No, Ryan agreed. It doesn't. Back inside the command trailer, the robot had finished its extraction. The device was now sealed inside a reinforced chamber, being transported to the EOD van for further analysis. Kira, still by Ryan's side, let out a short, sharp bark. Voss raised an eyebrow. She's not done, is she? Ryan shook his head. No. She never is. The tarmac lights continued to flash as the technicians packed up, the terminal reopened in partial capacity. Passengers were still grounded, unaware of how close they'd come to flying straight into disaster. And now a new question loomed. Was Briggs the target? The scapegoat? Or something else entirely? Because if someone could slip a device that precise onto a jet in a secure airport, this wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning. The hum of fluorescent lights in the airport's security operations room was almost as unnerving as the silence that surrounded the monitors. Ryan sat hunched over a desktop terminal, a steaming cup of stale coffee at his side, while Agent Sarah Voss paced behind him. The overhead screens replayed airport security footage in segmented frames, various camera angles from hangars, employee-only zones, cargo entrances. All eyes were on the hours leading up to Flight 873. The video that appeared on the main screen made Ryan sit up straighter. There, he said. That's the restricted hangar. Timestamp, 3:16 a.m. A man entered the frame wearing a standard commercial pilot's uniform. No hat, just a duffel bag slung over one shoulder. He walked with purpose, swiped a keycard at the security panel, and was granted access. Zoom in, Voss instructed. The tech enlarged the frame. Unfortunately, the man's face was angled just enough away from the camera to remain obscured in shadow. The badge on his uniform was readable, W. Briggs. Ryan leaned closer. But, that doesn't make sense. He turned to Voss. I already scanned Briggs' badge at the terminal this morning. That ID's been active all day. Voss didn't respond. Instead, she picked up her phone and dialed. Get me a full history on Captain Walter Briggs' pilot credentials. Last 5 years. And check for recent issuance of duplicate authorizations. She hung up and exhaled. This doesn't feel like a coincidence. Someone knew how to bypass our layers. The door opened, and another officer entered, whispering something into Voss's ear. Her expression shifted. What do you mean Briggs is, where? The officer repeated himself. Ryan stood. What's going on? They just found the real Captain Briggs, Voss said. Tied up in an airport service room behind the maintenance wing. Unconscious, but alive. Ryan's heart dropped. Then, the man Kira stopped this morning. Wasn't Briggs. He was the guy who planted the device. Voss nodded grimly. And Kira clocked him before we did. The real Walter Briggs was wheeled into a secure airport medical bay with minor head trauma and rope burns around his wrists. He was pale, groggy, but coherent. He jumped me in the parking garage, he told Voss and Ryan between sips of water. Wore a mask. Injected something, probably a sedative. Woke up cuffed to a pipe with duct tape over my mouth. Ryan could hardly believe what he was hearing. I assume he used my badge? Briggs asked. He used